Welcome, welcome. So this Saturday, you let me know today or tomorrow. We're have a garden tour of Sacramento Gardens. There's Daisy Ma. Her personal garden is going to be on tour. And then we have 3 other gardens. One's right around the corner from hers. It's a postage stamp, amazing cottage garden. She was inspired by the BBC Gardener's World during the pandemic and transformed her whole yard or at least her backyard into a English garden, which is really great. And then our last garden is an eclectic artist and succulent garden. These 2 guys have transformed this mid-century modern house that was evidently in really disrepair and has redone the whole thing. And we're welcome to view all that they've done in the inside as well. The tour is from 10 o'clock in the morning, starting at Daisy's, and bring something to share for a little coffee in the garden. And then we're going to have lunch in the last garden, which we'll get there about 12:30. And then you're welcome to bring your own lunch, have lunch afterwards, or order lunch, sandwiches and sit and relax. And there's lots of things to do afterwards. William Lynn Park, we mentioned. Up if you want to go north about a half hour, High Hand Nursery or the Horton Iris Farm. You know, there's the Crocker Museum, or you can go to UC Davis on the way home, and there's a wonderful art museum there, or the Arboretum's always fun to see as well. And then coming up, Kristen's garden. Kristen has a really large garden in Danville. I guess it was the original land that the subdivision has evolved around. That is on June 17th. Mark the date. And I want to thank a few people for contributing to the plant forum. Kathy. So Casper, we'll let you go first here. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, you're welcome. My pleasure. So this viewer, I'm at the top of the garden, and these are some very simple metal arbor trellises that go down in intervals down the staircase. There's about something like 70 steps. But what we're looking at first here is Cecile Brunner. She's in full bloom. And off to the left is the aloe plicotilus, which has now got a different name, and I'm not going to change that at all. Right now, the garden has got lots of cymbidiums in bloom. There's some tillandsias that are budding up. I had a student body from Merritt College come today to tour through the garden, and we went into the greenhouses.
Why don't you tell a little overview of your garden for those that haven't been to it? You're in the Oakland Hills.
The garden is about 1/3 of an acre. I've been here for about 22 or so years. Daryl purchased the house maybe some 5 years prior, and there was no garden to speak of. A lot of cotoneaster and weeds and lots of other unwanted vegetation. And just over the years, without any particular plan, as a former landscape designer would normally sit down and draw up a plan, but I had no plan in mind. It was just an empty space, and what could we do with it? And over 20 years now, the garden is completely landscaped, but still lots and lots of spaces where additional plants could be included. There are 2 controlled greenhouses, 2 lath houses. One has a misting system that I have a lot of bromeliads, tillandsias, and Laelia ansep orchids with a misting system and a little water feature in there. The other lath house is primarily a storage place and a viewing space as well, but that's where I do propagation and division of plants. Let's see what else. We can go to the next photo. So I'm in the Oakland Hills. So the tillandsia on the left, it's right now going into bloom. That photo was taken a couple of days ago. That's Lehmanniana, Tillandsia Lehmanniana. And once those white tips open up, those will be slightly fragrant white flowers. Onto the right-hand side is a collection of bromeliads on a standing trellis. There are some encephalitis and diunes and orchids in bloom off on the upper left-hand corner. That's a dendrobium species, white, fragrant. And you can't clearly see behind these red begonias or red bromeliads, but there's two giant dendrobium speciosum that come from Australia, originate from Australia. They could also be in their native habitat. They're lithophyte, so they can grow on rock. But I have them in containers there, of course. And off in the background there, there's one of the lath houses that have other bromeliads, begonias, tillandsias, anthurium. Anthurium is another recent, within the last couple of years, of interest of mine, along with the encephalitis and diunes, most of which the diunes and encephalitis came from UC Botanical's collection. Tim Gregory has propagated a lot of them from seed.
Are you selling at the sale on
I am selling at sale. I'll have I don't know if I took a photo, but I have mounted some tillandsias on grapewood.
okay.
This is
Brilliant.
so I'm selling tillandsias and bromeliads primarily. I might throw in a few orchids, but I don't think so. But we're limiting ourselves and everybody else on specifics. This is one of the lath houses in the back, and that photo of the Lehmanniana you can see is on the left-hand side of the wall. And down in the forefront here, that's a dendrobium kingianum. That's probably my largest orchid. That measures about 48 inches in diameter.
This front one without the blooms?
Yes, right.
Wow, that's
Just
big.
blooming. And it's one of those dendrobiums that's supposed to be dormant in the wintertime, but it's enormous. It's too big to carry, and so I just let it do its thing. And interestingly enough, on the rear side, where it gets less rain in the wintertime for whatever reason, there was more blooms on that side than there was on the front side. On the front entrance of the lath house there, where the wing fence or wing gate, the curved feature there is Verbena bonariensis that seeded itself. And so when I have something like that that flowers and seeds itself, I just let it be. I only prune it to so it's not in my way. But you can also see the crassula on the right-hand side. It's very floriferous at this time of the year. And all those flowers will have new plants. So I let it flower for a period of time, but I'll take all the flowers out because I don't want those to spread in other parts of the garden or to get into the pots.
Oh, we got close-ups here of those two.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So on the left-hand side, that's the Plicatillus again. And I'm not sure, but it just seems like the flowers this year, each individual flower, not so much the inflorescence, but the collective of flowers, but each flower seems to be twice the size as what I remember from the previous year. And I don't know if that's truly the fact, but it appears to me that the flowers are much, much larger than previous years. I wish I would have taken a better photo. On the right-hand side there, you can see they're not plants. Those are Marcia Donahue. If anybody's familiar with Marcia, she's a ceramicist in Berkeley, and her garden is open, incidentally, every Sunday from 1 to 5. There's no admission. There's no registration. You can just come and walk into the backyard and our back garden space. And you can see Marcia's handiwork. She has a very eclectic collection of plant material, as well as some of her sculptures and ceramic works. And she has chickens, some exotic chickens that roam through the garden as well.
I definitely love her chickens.
Yeah. And just another photo, you can see that Dendrobium speciosum has little tiny lavender flowers, and sometimes in the beginning they are, especially when it's a little warmer, slightly fragrant. And I stuck a few Tillandsia somnians. Those are the sort of burgundy color on the left-hand side there. That's sometimes these Tillandsias get so big and they just fall off. So without any conscious, I just pick them up and stick them somewhere. So they've got a new home there in that clump of Dendrobium. And I tried to grow this on the right-hand side. That's a Pachypodium that we had at the front door, and it got to be 7 or 8 feet tall, and it was reaching out because it was underneath the eave where the front door is, and it was doing just fine, but it was getting so tall that it was starting to reach out for the sunlight. I should have kept it there, but I've been to other places where I've seen Pachypodium growing out in other folks' gardens, so I thought I'd give it a try. But this one did not make it, even though the trunk looks like it's healthy enough. You can see the top portion it looks like a cobra has rotted out and still attached to it. And so I'm not quite sure if it's completely dead, but portions of it have rotted out. And then directly in front of us, of course, is another Cymbidium that is just starting to open up, and that'll stay, once it fully opens up, that'll stay for maybe about 2 plus months in flower. I have some others that are just, they've been blooming for about 3 months, and they're now just starting to fade out.
Thank you, Casper. Well, Kathy Eccles is a old-time Cal Hort member, and she was the propagationist and teacher at Diablo Valley College. And she moved about a year ago, 2 years ago, must be 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something. Moved out of the area. Now she's in Grants Pass, Oregon, and she says she's on 2 acres and has removed the lawn, spread 30 yards of compost, and started planting her garden. She replaced the fence with a 7-foot deer fence, and she's getting a 12 by 16 greenhouse installed next week. And loves her neighbors, and they're all from the Bay Area. But she's evidently, where they were bulldozing, they had this leucodendron discolor, and so she cut the flowers there. I wonder if that was it must have been in the ground. And they really need great drainage, so it'll be interesting to see how our drainage is there. And then evidently she's planted a golden chain tree, and there's a couple different varieties. This is from the spruce online that I got, but there's some short growing varieties, and then there's a columnar one, and then this other one that produces fewer pods and fewer seeds. Sounds like she's doing well. Be interesting to go visit her garden someday. Richard.
Yeah, I just took a photograph of a rhododendron show that was just held last week up in Fort Bragg, and it's just an example of all the different rhododendrons that you can grow in this area. And I don't have anything that it's very large right now because I moved and I only could take a few rhododendrons with me, but there's just an incredible variety. And azaleas also. They had both evergreen and deciduous azaleas there.
Was this show from all the Northwest, or
No, this is all from the Fort Bragg area. Everybody lives in that area. So
thank you.
Could I just ask Richard?
Sure.
Have you been to Martin Grantham's new place up there?
No, he's in Eureka, I believe.
Yeah, he's further north. That's right.
It's a lot farther north.
Yeah, a lot further north.
No.
Anyway, I'm curious to get reports, but I bet it's cool. Okay.
No, I haven't been there yet.
We probably have room for one more. We have about 6 minutes, and we'll be switching to Hadley's presentation on Western Hills Gardens.
Hey, while we're talking about rhododendrons, and I'm sorry I missed the intro to that, Hidden Forest Nursery, formerly Sonoma Hort, is in full bloom right now. And there's a ton of the Xberries.
Do you have any of the Xberries on for sale?
Oh, we got tons of them. Hundreds.
That's good to hear.
Well, that's good. Okay. Anybody's looking for any of the Xberry hybrid azaleas and others, I guess, in rhododendrons?
All
Hidden
sorts of
Forest Nursery up in, are you in Sonoma then?
Sebastopol,
Sebastopol. Okay. I didn't think you were quite.
Sonoma County.
So what is the name of your nursery now?
It's Hidden Forest Nursery.
Okay.
Okay. So we have Hadley on the line. So maybe she can help you with this, Mark.
This is a plant I picked up from the nursery at Western Hills some time ago. And it's probably about 8 feet tall now. And I think Roger Raish told me that this is whatever it's called. It's a mystery plant, so I'm curious what it is. I think he told me that it has, after it flowers, it makes some strange bright blue fruit that look like legumes. That's if my memory is working, which would be nice. I think that's what I know about it. It has, at the juncture of each pair of opposite leaves, there's a thorn, and it's deciduous. It drops all those, and it's just a spiky thing in between, and then it'll do all this again. It's sure getting taller as it goes.
How tall is it?
About 8 feet.
And is it what, one stalk with these big leaves on there? Or? Multiple.
Yeah, it seems to be branching a little bit now, and I think there's a baby thing coming up beside it as well.
Kind of like a big Mahonia?
Yeah, kind of in effect, don't you think? A little bit, not
Well, it
exactly.
kind of looks like it from here. I can't tell really from.
Yeah.
Does it sound like an Aurelia?
An Aurelia? I
Yeah.
don't think so, but I don't know.
There's an Aurelia spinosa.
Oh,
So maybe
Well, Spinosa.
something to Google. Yeah, that checks out.
Heather said this was Aurelia spinosa, which I looked that one up, and I think that's correct. It had the
Right.
dangling beads and stuff.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, Judy.
Yeah, John spoke to Western Hort in, was it March, I guess? And so
Why don't you tell us who John is?
Oh, John Sudagawa is, he's heading up the project at Merritt Lake, where they've done a rock garden, an alpine rock garden. And they, in the last 3 years, I guess, have built like 12 large rock garden. I think he said they were like 6 feet by 6 feet or something. They're big. Anyway, he is also known for being able to grow Meconopsis from seed and used to sell them regularly at the Botanic Garden in San Francisco. So he brought some to the talk at Western Hort and sold them. And I bought a couple, and I was very pleased that I got it to bloom. He said they were blooming size. My question for people that have grown it, is it true, because this was his recommendation, that you should debud the first bloom?
You said it was monocarpic, so it blooms and dies.
Some of them are.
So you're talking about the one stalk comes up and blooms,
Yeah.
and then it gets side shoots, and then those come up, those bloom, or how's that work? If it
No,
dies,
I
does
think
it
you get
second
like
year?
the blooms from the center every year, and then it dies down. I mean, it dies down, you continue watering it. But I was told, I mean, his recommendation was that you should go ahead and pinch out that first flower bud, and I couldn't bear to do it. I thought, what if I lost the plant in the next year? I'd never see it bloom. So I went ahead and let it bloom. And I just want to know, anyone that's grown it, is it true that it is helpful to debud it?
I've been growing John's Meconopsis for 3 years now, I think. And they are all of them that I've had that I've flowered. I've just let do whatever they want to do. And all of them that have flowered have come back.
So you didn't disbud it.
Nope, I didn't do anything.
What did you do after the flower faded? You pinch the so it doesn't go to seed, right?
Nope, I didn't do anything. I let them do whatever they wanted to do, and they were perfectly happy. And like I said, all of them have come back that have ever bloomed. not all of them survived to flower. I mean, he had given me some really small ones in 2-inch pots, and that
Uh-huh.
I think most of those did not work. But the ones he gave me in 3-inch pots or 4-inch pots, I potted them into large clay pots, and then I just watered them whenever they needed water, which was frequent. And
summer?
yep, pretty much so. They stayed evergreen until fall, and then they went dormant. And then I thought they might be dead, but John showed me that they form almost like a woody beak at ground level. And that he said, if you push on that and it's hard, it's fine. If you push on that and water stuff squirts out, it's rotted. And all of mine were fine. This year, a number of them are in flower already, and a bunch of them are still just rosettes. This year, many of them have sort of shredded petal tips that they just come out that way. And they're ones that hadn't bloomed before. So I'm assuming that's just normal. And others, you know, they tend to be more in the mauve and the sky blue. Although some of the really, I'd call them sharp blues, are less common. But I know when I sent photos of them to him last year, because they bloomed well, he was surprised at how variable in color mine were.
Is this one dark or is this one pale?
I'd say that one, the one that you have the photo of there, is pale.
That's what I thought too.
Pale to kind of sky blue. And that I find a lot of times on the back side toward the base of the petal, they're usually or oftentimes a little bit either dark colored or purple colored.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Bart.
you for that. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, I guess the one other thing is, how tall is it?
Oh, it was probably 10 inches.
Oh, that's shorter. Most of mine are up around 2 feet-ish.
Oh, no, not at all. Not even close.
Well, so
Wow.
how big is the flower? Mine are like 4 inches or more across.
I was gonna say about 3.5 inches.
Yeah,
The
okay.
first one was a little bigger.
Yeah, first ones always are, and then the subsequent ones along the stalk and subsidiary buds, they're all increasingly smaller.
Right. But so just because I didn't disbud, my chances are of it surviving and blooming again are decent.
Oh, I'd say excellent.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, John does a really good job of getting them started. So, and that you'll notice too, if you have more than one, the leaves are quite different from one
Yes.
another.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
This one's
again-
really hairy and the other one isn't.
Yeah, usually Meconopsis are very hairy, but then it's also, are the hairs really long and sort of golden brown?
Yeah.
Are they yellowish? Are they whitish? Are the petals crenately margined or deeply crenate margined or smooth, or, you know, they're really quite a lot of variability.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bart.
Sure.
Thank you,
Oh.
Bart and Judy. Okay, so Ann Anderson is not here, but she had gotten this aloe at a silent auction at the San Francisco Botanic Garden and sat it for many years. And this year it sprouted a bloom spike. And she doesn't know the name. Does anybody have any ideas of maybe what this could be? It looks like an aloe to me. I mean, not aloe, a scuba.
Agave, yeah.
Looks like agave to me. Does anybody have any insight to maybe what that is? Which one it is?
Not an agave aficionado, so it looks like it might be a hybrid though.
Okay, well, that's okay. It's blooming from many, and I believe most of these are monocarpic, if that's the case, and they actually do after. Well, I guess they stump sprout afterwards, most of them.
Yeah, a lot of them do, and then a lot of them don't. You don't know which one you got unless you know what you have.
Yeah. Well, she'll have to give us an update if it continues.
And
Been
the
getting-
other ththing is that a lot of them will do plantlets up in the inflorescence after the flowers are over.
Good point. Well, I've been getting a lot of vernal pool reports here. So this was also from Anne, and she said she stopped by the Jepson Prairie Preserve just south of Dixon, May 6th to find vernal pools. Were still very much in existence. As you can tell by the one on the left is still full of water. The wildflower bloom is well behind the time, so there's still time to go visit it. I think you have to have reservations to go to the Jepson Prairie. The pools normally start drying up in late February and early March, and the flowers come out as the pools recede. The first photo shows just a portion of one of the several large vernal pools on the property. The wildflowers are all low growing, so best to appreciation if you walk around the, I can't see the bottom of my slide here.
Oh, the wildflowers are low growing, so for the best appreciation, you need to walk the self-guided trail and look closely.
Okay, there you go.
Say
And-
that I had the good fortune of going on a trip that Barbara Hopper gave us.
Mhm.
And we were going around in tall boots because the ponds were still intact. And she showed us the life that goes on in California that you have no concept exists. There are all kinds of shrimp growing in there, that land that go completely dormant when it dries up, but they survive in the vernal pools, and so many other creatures. It just blew my mind because you have no concept that this is what's going on there.
Well, it's a fascinating life cycle for them. Like you said, they're dormant for half the season.
Right.
And sometimes they don't get as big as this, as we can tell by when Tosh went down to Hollister. And Tosh, you want to talk about this?
I was really hoping you wouldn't share those coins because I did a very bad thing and everyone now can see it. But this is on Shore Road. Let me see. If you go down from 101, get off on 25 as if you were going to the Pinnacles and take off on Shore Road, east on Shore Road. This is along the way. And as I was on my way to visit our friend Claire at Meadowlark, this caught my eye. How can you not stop? So I did a U-turn and this is it. I was there this morning and fortunately was able to talk to the owner. She's only been there 17 years, but this parcel is 130 acres or so. And she thought there were 4 acres at least of these, as you told me, I identified for me, the Downingia. And it is the cutest little thing. This is all dried up now. There is no water. The soil is cracking, but she seems to think that this is taken for hay, these fields. And the man who usually does this won't be taking it because the Downingia, which we can't see, seems to, be in the deeper parts of the farm. So this is from, I can't remember if this is from the road that I saw Tuesday. And then Saturday I went back and again this morning, but there are 2 large patches of this, acres.
This is from your video on Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday, the first one.
Yeah, these little spots of your video.
Yeah, and I think I sent you the photo with the dogs.
I
They
love
were
that
really
one.
enjoying it.
I didn't have
But
time to put it in though.
Yeah. Now the owner is 17 years she's been there, but Claire, she's been there over 34 years and she's never seen anything like this. And we're always on the lookout for flowers. But this was
Has Claire seen any Downingia there?
no, never, never. So, and she looks around like we do. And I hope Bart gets to see this. Bart?
Yeah, I'm here and again, as I think most people know, I was born and raised in Hollister, and friends of mine lived on Shore Road. And I've never seen any Downingias there, but this one is Pukella, Downingia Pukella.
I was very bad. I picked that little flower, Bart, but
Yeah.
We'll
well,
recover in at least 20 years.
it is amazing because, again, I know that area well, and that it normally is tall, weedy grasses.
yes,
And
yes.
it's all part of the former Pleistocene Lake San Benito, which basically covered that whole region, kind of the real flat area along Highway 25 between Gilroy and Hollister. And that's why it's so flat. And it's called the balsa, which means flat in Spanish.
Yes.
And that I remember because we'd be out in that area frequently. And again, just nothing like this. So my guess is that this is just ancient seed bank, soil seed bank that just had the perfect conditions and did not get overwhelmed by grasses, which all the surrounding area does. And I'm not sure why this area didn't this particular year.
It was flooded, wasn't it?
Well, but a lot of that area floods because it's
Yes.
also along the fault line, and that there are all the sag ponds all along there, and they never do this.
No.
Soap Lake, Fraser Lake,
Yes, yes.
all those places. And no, there's something about what they did within the last calendar year, coupled with the rainfall patterns, yielded this year. And my guess is it probably won't happen again
Oh, no.
for another many years, because the grasses will come up and take over again.
Well, do you think all that water prevented the grasses from taking hold originally because it was so flooded this year?
It could be, but a lot of that area was flooded.
Yes, it was. When we traveled down there, it was flooding everywhere in January, but on Fraser Lake, we drove through there, and on both sides of the Fraser Lake Road, it was a lake on both sides. I could see, further east, Pacheco, and we knew it was shallow still. It was flooded. It was just flooded. And from what I understand, Santa Ana Creek runs into, if you can recall in years past, 152, there is a lake that you can see over there. And so this area, I was told that this, the water would run off, and it's called the Santa Ana Creek, and it ends up in that little lake over by 152, Pacheco. Whether that's so or not, I do not know. But
that's what we always called, and that everyone in the area called Soap Lake.
Yes.
Because it's the low point and in that area, and it does not drain. It just, in drought years, it completely dries up. And again, it's usually just covered with weedy stuff, either weedy natives and mixed in with weedy exotics.
The woman who lives at this site, she said there was water in there till April last month. So deep roots, Bart, I don't know. It looks very fresh and lively. And the soil is cracking at this point.
Yeah, I was wondering if the roots grow down further as the cracks as the top dries out, if the roots go down further to keep moist.
No, it's that Downingias are strictly annuals. They typically germinate and begin to grow underwater. And that's why they're able to do that. But generally, as the other exotic grasses move in, and I'm guessing that It just had to be that the length of time was such that the grasses never really got started in that particular spot.
There are spots throughout, and that's why the farmer who usually cuts the hay, there seemed to be just areas that we couldn't see, but the owner suspected that were greater areas that we couldn't see from our vantage point. But it doesn't seem profitable for him to take the hay, which he usually does. And so these low areas are just, as you know, the photographs never do it justice. It's just really stunning. Just very grateful to see
The photos are pretty stunning.
Are they that blue or are they more purple? Is that a true color?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a wow. It's very vibrant. I think of all the down ninjas, you know, looking through for identification. This seemed to be the brightest to my eye.
Me
But,
too. I thought so.
if
too.
you get down this way.
Yeah, well, and that usually, I mean, as you can see there, when you have those bright blues in full sun, they usually do photograph purple. But were you shading that close-up area?
No,
No?
that's it. It was overcast. The
Oh,
photo-
okay. Because
Yeah.
when it is more overcast or shady, that's what they look like. It's just the blues and violets can have problems photographically.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
And that some of the individuals in there are probably really purplish, but the vast majority are that brilliant blue.
Yes.
And that why it's Pukella is, if you zoom in on the coin image, you see that there's 3 purple dots that are around the center of the flower. And they're actually on those lower 3 lobes, 1 spot per. And that makes it Pukella.
Okay. They look black to me when I was looking at them. The color is that vibrant.
Yeah, they are. I think if you looked at them with a hand lens, that you'd find that they're actually really dark purple.
Beautiful.
And that the other thing that's very peculiar about these, and that I'm not sure if you can see it in any of those, is that if you look at the close-up of the group of them, there is something at the top of the 3 dots, and that's actually the stamens are joined together to make a tube, and then the stigma is at the end, and that is actually held at almost a right angle to the face of the flower. It's a very, very unusual arrangement. So, Tosh, if you got any pictures of flowers that were kind of down at their level, looking across them, you'll see all of these bent structures above the flower in the center.
Like L's, upside down L's.
Well, they're coming out of the center of the flower, and then they're making a hard left turn, a 90-degree or 45-degree angle.
Interesting. Thank you.
Coming up and going straight off.
Where do you know these from, these flowers, these plants?
Well, Downingias are vernal pool plants, and so they're fairly restricted, and many of them are actually very rare. This is one of the more common ones, actually, but around our area, it's found out by Livermore, the Springville area. And this one is also one of 5 or 6 that's found at Jepson, Prairie. And then it is known from various places along the inner coast ranges south of here, and even around into the Sierra foothills around the San Joaquin Valley. It's in the Sierra foothills in Kern County.
Are you talking about this particular one or down
Yeah,
in general? Okay.
This particular one. This one is one of the more widespread ones.
I was surprised how many there were of species of Downingias.
Yeah, well, and as Tosh said, it is probably the prettiest of all of them.
Okay, thank you guys.
Oh,
Everybody's down there.
actually, the other thing is that they're not very easy to grow horticulturally. And knowing that, yeah, they germinate underwater and all of that typically is one sort of indicator. And you asked about the roots. The roots actually are very fine and aren't extensive, but because it's in such heavy clay soil, it's able to grow longer and be there as the pools dry up. And again, typically in vernal pools, they're deeper parts and then they flower in sort of concentric rings with different flowers as you go down lower and lower. And that, like at Jepson Prairie, that big lake is Olcott Lake, and that at the bottom of it, there's really only two grasses that are incredibly rare. One of them is principally just found in that lake, and that's Tuctoria, I think it's Mucronata. And the grasses that are found at the bottom of vernal pools tend to be very rare and thought to be very primitive type grasses because, again, they do germinate and grow quite a while underwater.
So the Downingia at Jepson Prairie is still to come, correct? These are ahead of those, I would assume, since they're all the yellow still.
Actually, Marcus at the Botanic Garden was just out there, I think a week ago, and he said he saw, I think it was either 4 or 5 of the different species that are there, and that the rare one, Downingia pusilla, was the one that he said he saw the most of.
Okay, so they're already in bloom at Jepson Prairie as well.
Yeah, and they're in flower out at Springville too, but nowhere are they doing anything like this.
Where's Springville? You said that was Livermore?
Yeah, it's you go out 580, and when you get pretty far out there, but before you get to the hills, you turn left, or you go north of the freeway. It's on most maps. And there's actually an East Bay Regional Park District vernal pool preserve out there.
Oh, okay.
And further out is Brushy Peak. Many people know that location. And Springville is before Brushy Peak as you're going from 580.
Tosh, when did you take these pictures?
She's muted, but I think she said Tuesday and then again today.
Tuesday and then again today. So it dried up completely in 5 days?
No, she had a show on today too. It's still blooming.
I thought you said that it's dry and cracked now.
Well, the soil would be dried and cracked, but the plants are fine.
The plants are fine, yes.
Oh,
They don't look as if they're needing any water at all. They look just very vibrant. And the close-up, you see that color is in the field, it looks much more lilac, but the close-up, that is the true color when I saw it. It's just very, very vibrant. And it was that way this morning. I had to take a friend and show her. So you have to share, don't we?
Definitely. That's pretty fantastic.
So
It is
you, Bart.
incredible.
Thank you, Bart.
Sure.
Okay, I think we're done with
Thank
pictures.
you.
So next month we have Paul Bonine, and he was going to speak with us in February, and then he had to have emergency oral surgery or something there. So anyway, he's gonna be speaking about the heat dome that they had last summer and how it affected the natives and what survived and did well and what didn't. And he probably could tell us how they're coming back as well.
Well, and I think they're experiencing another major heat wave right now. And Paul does a lot with weather. He's also one of the co-owners of Xera Nursery, which is a specialty grower in the Portland area. All kinds of unusual plants, but a lot of unusual natives.
Ooh.
And that Paul actually has made quite a few selections out in the wild that I'm actually growing some of them here at my house, and I'm propagating some of them for some of our plant sales in the future. One is called, what is it? Xera's Lime Punch Ribes. And if you know Ribes Brocklebanki, that kind of golden foliage one that tends to be a weak grower, this is similar, except the leaves are bigger and a lot more substance. I'm very impressed with it. Red flowers, but again, the flowers happen pretty much as the leaves are just starting to come out. So it's not a weird contrast.
Pink flowers?
Reddish pink. It's a Ribes sanguineum.
Anyway, so this is going to be 2 days after we visit Kristen's garden. So you'll get information on both of those. And then we have two new board members, Heather, who wonderfully identified the Aurelia, and then Carolyn McNiven. So welcome to those guys, and thank you so much for coming forward. And then also Jane Freeman, who came to our last board meeting, and she's willing to help out as well. So that's wonderful to have that added support for everybody. And then our next board meeting will send out an invite to everybody if whoever wants to partake and give suggestions and ideas. We're all open to that. That's all I have. So thank you guys all for coming. Anybody else have any other announcements or anything?
I just wanted to say, you guys all realize that Suncrest is closing, right?
No, I hadn't heard that until you mentioned it.
Yeah,
What
they
happened?
sent out an email. They sent out an email last Friday or Saturday that they're going to be open only until June.
They sent that notice out with the availability list.
Yes.
Yes,
I
Bill
was-
usually does that Thursday, so Friday that might have come out.
Very sad.
It is sad to know that they said the owners are going in different directions. So are they going to be selling it hopefully for?
I think they're going to sell the land off. And I don't know if you guys are aware that Monterey Bay was owned by both Lewin Miller and
Manuel.
Manuel. Yes.
Manuel.
They split up, and I heard that Manuel has gotten together with a bunch of people, although they're also older gentlemen too. And maybe they're buying some of the stuff from Nevin was, I'm sure, devastated with the direction that Suncrest had taken in the last few years. So
Well, I do know a little bit more on that part about it's Manuel and the former principal propagator for Suncrest have gone into business together and are they're operating out of a place, I believe, in Castroville, and that I'm sure with now Suncrest going under, I'm sure that they're probably going to end up with a bunch of those plants one way or another.
don't be so sure, because I heard the woman who was the manager just dumped huge numbers of plants.
Oh, right. But that was years ago. I mean,
That
and
was
she
2
got
years ago.
fired is what I heard. Yeah, it was sort of pre-pandemic. And when she fired a lot of the staff.
Yeah, but she didn't leave until after the pandemic. She actually, from Eric,
Right.
how it was over, and he said that what she did was she left them a list and said that they should only be selling these 100 plants. And so she got rid of everything else, and people were begging her not to throw them away, and she did anyway. So now
Yeah,
they're trying
I
to
think I told you that.
Okay, with no further ado, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you
Bye-bye.
again.
Bye.
Ellen.
Bye.